Now let's talk with Rabbi Harold Kushner. Rabbi Kushner, it's a joy to have you back on the program. Thank you for your compelling message on conquering fear. Everybody's walking around with serious worries and fears. And I wonder, since you wrote that book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, and I still have my copy, somebody gave it to me when my brother was killed in a plane crash, I wonder if that experience, losing your beloved son Aaron at age 14, somehow prepared you and gave you the formula for facing the fears ahead in your life.
Yes, Lydia, I think it absolutely did. It's almost as if that experience, not losing Aaron, but losing Aaron and surviving, vaccinated me against the fear of loss. So that my wife and our daughter and I can say to ourselves, if we could get through that, we can get through anything. And the first bit of advice I give to anybody who says, I have to do something and I'm not sure I'm up to it, is to ask them to look back at a time where they had to do something hard and they surprised themselves by how well they could do it. Lydia, for me, that is the proof of God. Not any of those word games we learn in philosophy class, that human beings asked to do something superhuman, knowing they don't have the ability to do it, somehow find the resources within themselves that were not there until the day they needed them. But God gave them the grace to do what they needed to do.
I was going to say, in dealing with tragedy and loss is really part of our faith journey and part of our life. It deepens our experience, doesn't it?
It does. It's a painful growing up process.
Right.
You leave the Santa Claus phase of religion behind. If I'm a good boy, I will get everything I ask for. You leave behind this simple-minded business that if you put your mind to something, you could make it happen. And you find yourself a citizen of a grown-up world, an undependable world, an unfair world, and yet a world so possible of reward and fulfillment for those who have the courage to live boldly in it.
And you've worked out this wonderful reassurance that no matter what happens, you can handle it, we can handle it, we're not alone. But I still have to ask you, what are the fears you're conquering at this moment?
I think what scares me right now is the amount of anger that is out there in the world. There are some things we should be angry at. We could not have gotten rid of racial segregation had people not been angry. We could not have brought limits to profit-seeking in business or to corruption in politics if people had not gotten angry. But the sense of free-floating rage, inappropriate anger, not only in politics, you hear it on the sports programs on the radio, fire the manager because we didn't win the World Series. That's crazy. Why all this anger? I suspect if you scratch the anger, you will find fear. Fear, you and I recognize, Daniel, this is a man's way of dealing with anger is a man's way of dealing with fear because we don't want to show fear. And I think if you analyze below the fear, what you will find is a sense of being out of control. When people sense that events important to them are beyond their control, they get scared and they get angry. And this, I think, is making ours a very tense, suspicious, vindictive, impatient society. And it really upsets me.
Is there a tinge of Manichaeism there, these attitudes of us against them that are part of the fabric of the culture?
I think there's a lot of that. I think it's not so much us against them, it's us against somebody. Right? Somebody is doing me bad. Somebody is spoiling things. Somebody is making money off this instead of me. Somebody is taking what should be mine. I don't know who that somebody is, but I am looking for somebody to be angry at. In the days of the Cold War and us and the Russians, it was us against them. Today, it is us against some unknowable foe. It's not just the terrorists, and it's not just the Bernard Madoffs of the world. It's a whole conspiracy of people there stealing what should be mine, and I'm angry at them. And it makes us suspicious of our neighbors. It makes us suspicious of our elected leaders. Nobody can govern a country where people have this attitude.
And Rabbi Kushner, doesn't that suspicion or that cynicism lead to a lack of belief in some ways? I wanted to ask you, you probably answered this question several times, what do you say to those people that struggle with the existence of God, that allows these terrible things to happen in life. What kind of advice do you offer folks that just have that trouble?
Daniel, I learned many years ago, when somebody says to me, I don't believe in God, to tell him, tell me about the God you don't believe in, because there are a lot of gods I don't believe in either. Let's find out what you do believe and what you don't believe, and maybe we'll find something we can both believe. I astonish people by saying, you don't believe in a God who controls everything that happens? Well, neither do I. You don't believe that this was the will of God? A year after Hurricane Katrina, I went down to New Orleans to bring some consolation to families who had been washed out of their homes. And I said to them, I don't believe that God sent the hurricane to punish you. And if you don't believe it either, then we share the same faith. We believe in a God who is on our side, not on the side of the destructive waters. And I think people are refreshed to hear that. They want to be given a God who will help them and not punish them. Why we ever got painted into the corner of thinking of God as vindictive, as punitive, as looking, there's a passage in Job. Remember, all these terrible things have happened to Job, and his friends come to say to him, don't lose faith, Job. God is always watching over us. And Job answers bitterly, yes, he's always watching over us to catch us and punish us. And that is the theology too many people have.
And Job, you know, that which I have feared has come upon
Yeah,
me. That's
right.
the attitude that we have. I guess I have to go back to your message. Again, I see it as a reassurance. People who are fear of death are dying. And you say, the real fear is that they perhaps have wasted their lives or haven't lived their lives to their fullest. What do you hope will be your most important legacy, Rabbi?
Not the books I've written, and not the sermons I've given. My immortality will be that when my son was in pain and dying, I could make him laugh. I am prouder of that than anything I have done in my 75 years.
How did you do that?
Tell him funny stories, tickle him, sit with him, hold his hand, share some of his amusements, make fun of some of the things that he made fun of. But, you know, it's not the content, Lydia. It's just the sense that somebody was there and saw him as other than a tragic figure, and he deserved that.
What caused your son's death?
He had one of the rarest diseases in the world. It's called progeria, the rapid aging syndrome. It takes the body of a 3-year-old boy and starts to turn it into an old man with arthritis and heart disease and all of these things. And since then, we've become very active in an organization to look for a cause and cure. In just a few years, with the help of the Human Genome Project, we've identified the gene that causes it. We've got a treatment that will cure it in laboratory animals, and we're testing it now on human beings. And we are very excited that instead of just wringing our hands and saying, God, why do you let children suffer like this? We have said, God, give us the wisdom and the inspiration to be able to do something about it.
Rabbi Kushner, we've got about a minute left. Do you want to talk a little bit about the most recent book? What are you trying to accomplish with this most recent writing?
People are scared, and they are less human than they need to be. It shrinks our souls. And I want to give them the faith in themselves, faith in the world, faith in the accessibility of a God who will supply them with the courage they need. Yeah, what we're asked to do is hard. Do it. It'll turn out better than you think.
And to trust the journey.
That's right.
I mean, the importance of really trusting the journey, and I sense that's what
Because
you
we're not doing it alone.
Thank you, Rabbi Harold Kushner.